What's up guys, Andrew Baena here, and today I will be doing the first installment of my perhaps weekly questions and answers video series. Plenty of other YouTubers already do this, and you guys always have plenty of questions for me, so I figured I might as well do it as well. So if you guys have any questions for me that I don't answer in these videos preferably, just let me know in the comments below. And the first question of the day is by Tyler G, and he asks, why did me parents get a divorce? Probably because your mom gay. I don't know. The second question comes from Chicken Permission, not Parmesan, Chicken Permission. That's ridiculous. He asked, did your first guitar Djent? The answer to that is definitely no. It was a cheap Chinese-made Strat copy, as I'm sure most people's first guitar was. My parents got it for me when I was like 13 years old for Christmas. I actually still have it, so I'll show you what it looks like now. Alright, so this is the first guitar I ever had. Obviously I changed some things on it. Initially, it was just a plain black Strat copy thing, like I said. And I had the great idea a few years ago to try and make it live again, and I put on like a pink pearl guard and painted it like a watermelon because I thought that would be a good idea at the time. And then, as with most things in my life, I got bored of it halfway through and never finished it. That's why it has no strings. That's why the pickup is not even screwed in. And yeah, I gave up on that pretty quickly. But no, it did not Djent. And the third question is from Julian Pizarro, and he asks, what is the first metal song that you heard that influenced you to be so drawn to that genre of music? I started listening to metal when I was like 13-ish as well, which again is when I got my first guitar. The reason I say metal in quotation marks is because what I thought was metal when I was younger is not really what I know to be metal nowadays. I mean, I guess it's technically metal. Basically, the first band that influenced me to want to learn guitar and get into the genre was, of course, Linkin Park. I know they're not very metal at all. I guess like new metal if you look at their older stuff, which is what I was listening to. So I'm pretty sure the first song I ever heard by them, I don't remember what the first song I heard by them was, but I remember the first song I learned by them, and it was A Place for My Head. I had a really good friend in high school who taught me how to play that on his guitar, and ever since learning that really simple like do 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 that part, you know what I mean? You're welcome for my beautiful singing, by the way. Yeah, ever since I learned that little beginning part, I kind of knew that I wanted to try learning guitar, and that's why my parents got me the guitar I just showed you, and it kind of spiraled out of control from there. Then it was like System of a Down, then it was Slipknot, then it kind of just spiraled out from there. Tyler Cost Low asks, what is your favorite Resident Evil game? I have only really ever played one Resident Evil game, which I think was Resident Evil 4 maybe. It was for the Xbox 360 quite a few years ago, and the only reason I got through that game was because of the rocket launcher cheat. Me and my friend beat the entire game in like 3 hours because we just had a rocket launcher with infinite ammo, and that was pretty fun at the time. But I remember trying the game normally, and the whole like you can't aim while you move thing really pissed me off, so I did not enjoy the game. Other than that, I've never really explored the franchise. I think I tried the newest one very briefly, but then I got scared and stopped playing. Alright, the next question is from Mr. Gray. He asks, it's like a three-part question. He asks, will you ever own a 10-string guitar? How come you haven't done a Djent/shred video with Stevie T? Will your band ever tour the United States? And what was the first band that got you into 8 and 9-string guitars? Alright, so that's a lot of questions. For the first one, will I ever own a 10-string? There was actually like a bunch of people that asked me this, and I don't think I'll ever have a 10-string. I don't know, man. Like, it was hard enough to like justify starting to use 9-string guitars, but the thing with 10-string guitars is like I would love to buy one for the meme and like just to try it out, but the cheapest 10-string I've ever found is like $1,000, and $1,000 is a lot of money to spend on a meme. Maybe one day if there's a cheaper option, but at this point in time I don't have any plans to buy a 10-string guitar. Your next part, why haven't I done a Djent/Shred Wars video with Stevie T? Because I cannot shred at all. So that's why I haven't done a Shred Wars video. I did do like a guest solo on one of his videos, which was a lot of fun, but also very nerve-wracking because I never, ever do guitar solos, and it probably shows in that video. As for a Djent Wars video with him, I'm totally open to the idea, but I don't think that Stevie T really does that kind of stuff. I think that's more of like a Jared Dines thing. So if he wants to, I'm definitely open to it. That would be awesome. And then the third part of your question was, will your band ever tour the United States? And the answer to that is I do not know. Unfortunately, touring the United States is so fucking hard if you're not from the United States. You actually have to buy something called a work visa in order to legally tour the United States, and I am not about trying to illegally tour. So I would definitely do the legal way, and to do that it costs, I think it's like $1,000 per band member or something like that, and we don't even have a van, so we'd have to like pay $1,000 each, apply for a visa, get a van, all that stuff. And like we've thought about it in the past, but the costs of just doing it are too much for us right now. I mean, everything's possible, so maybe one day, but at this point in time I don't really have any hope of playing the States anytime soon, sorry. And the last part of your question is, what was the first band that got you into 8 and 9 string guitars? And that answer is super easy. It is, of course, After the Burial. They were the first band that I ever heard use an 8 string guitar. I think the first song I heard by them was Berserker, and I thought it was the most insane thing I had ever heard. And I had like just got a 7 string, and I thought that was like crazy low. And then of course After the Burial came out and was like, hey, what's up? We got 8 strings though. And then ever since I heard that first low F note on Berserker, I was in love, and I knew I needed an 8 string guitar. And then again, when they started using a low C sharp, I was like, holy shit, amazing, I need a 9 string. All right, Robbie Snowden has a question that has kind of a complicated answer, but he asks, how do you film and record your videos? Like, how do I film and sync the music with the camera, and what video editing program do I use? I kind of butchered that, but you can see the question on the screen. So that's a little bit of a tough question to answer because there's a lot that goes into these. I have it kind of down so the videos are pretty quick at this point in time, but basically what I use for video editing is a program called Adobe Premiere Pro, and I use the CC edition because that's the most recent version of all of the Adobe products. I just pay for the full suite. I think it's like 50 bucks a month or something like that, but it's totally worth it in my opinion. If you're making money off of it, it's definitely worth it. But yeah, so I use Adobe Premiere CC, amazing program. I've used it for many years. It's fantastic. My camera, I'm using a Panasonic Lumix G7, which I can't physically show you because I'm literally recording with it right now. I just use the kit lens, nothing fancy going on there. And then I have some like cheap lighting around me. I have a couple different lighting setups. The one I'm using right now is just like super bright white lights for like even lighting, and then I have some different ones for more dramatic lighting if I feel like it. Yeah, and then I record all the audio first. That's the very first thing I do, is record all the audio, and then I film like multiple different angles of the same video using the same camera. So I usually do like an angle like this, and then an angle like down the neck, and then another one showing my like weird picky boy hand, you know? And then I kind of put them all together, sync them up to the song, and then edit from there, basically. That's the easy answer to your question, at least. All right, and the next question is from Luc Poirier, Canadian boy, I see. Hey Andrew, love your vids. Would it be hard to play an 8-string guitar if you have been playing a 6-string guitar your whole life? My answer to this is I don't really know, because I went from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, so I kind of had that like 1-string progression all along. So I don't know, it's tough to answer because I've never been in the situation where I just jumped straight from a 6 to an 8. I guess it kind of depends on like how you play guitar, really. Like if you play on a 6-string and you're mostly using the bottom 3 or 4 strings for riffy stuff and you don't really fuck with the high strings, then I would imagine doing the same thing on an 8-string would probably be just as easy or difficult, because you would probably just do the same thing except on the bottom 4 strings instead of the bottom 4 strings of a 6-string. I don't know. So kind of depends on your style, I guess. If you're like shredding, yeah, it would probably be a lot harder to jump straight to an 8, but that's kind of the only insight I have, unfortunately. The next question is from Big Starch 96, and he asks, do you prefer direct recording plugins, software like Bias, Effects, and Amplitude, or an actual amp and cab for tone, and why do you prefer your choice? So my answer to that is neither. I don't use plugins for guitar tones pretty much ever. I used to when I was starting out, but now that I have a Kemper, which you can see here, it's pretty much been my savior, and I've used that for every single recording I've ever done since I got it, which I think was like almost 2 years ago now. And then I do have like an amp and cab setup, but I don't use it for recording because recording a real amp and cab is such a pain in the ass. I don't have the proper mic, I don't have the proper isolation booth, I don't have any of that. Whereas the Kemper, again, kind of takes care of all that for you. I got it for a really good deal. I found it on Craigslist and I could not be happier. So I prefer, I guess my answer is I prefer like a digital amp modeling platform such as like a Kemper or an Axe-Fx or a Helix or something like that. My personal choice is the Kemper, and again, really the only reason I went with Kemper is because I found it for super cheap. If I had found an Axe-Fx 2 at the time for even cheaper, I totally would have gone with that. But at the time, this was the only thing locally that I could afford, and I'm super happy with it and I have zero regrets. It's probably the most essential piece of gear in my entire video. Alright, and the final question of the day comes from Jacob Nerical, bassist official, and he asks, what do you do in regards to writing songs? I've always had this problem with writer's block, sorry. So I kind of got asked this by a few people on like how I write songs. First of all, I don't really write original songs that often. I think I usually only write like maybe like 2 or 3 a year. I've written a lot more lately than ever before in my life, but that's mostly been because of like doing challenge videos on YouTube, like the 1 hour challenge and all that, or getting a new guitar kind of always inspires me to write something new. But that's kind of besides the point. So for writing a song, basically what I'm doing when I'm trying to come up with a song idea is really the way I've always looked at it is what am I listening to at the time, and how can I make all of these things that I'm listening to right now kind of come together as one thing. And that's always kind of been my style, if that makes any sense. So like for example, like if I've been listening to a lot of like Loathe and like Between the Buried and Me and Volumes or something like that, I don't know, I'm just making shit up. Let's say that those are the 3 bands I've been listening to constantly for the past like, I don't know, month. Basically what I do is I kind of just think, what would these 3 bands do if they were all one thing? Which sounds kind of weird. I don't know if that's very helpful, but basically that's all the way that I've always done it. It's just kind of thinking like, I like this, 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 and this. How can I make all those things into one thing? Or the second thing I do is if there's a particular sound I want to go for, then I just learn a bunch of cover songs by bands that fit within that style or within that genre. So like again, if I wanted to write like a super djenty song, I would just like listen to a shit ton of like Volumes, some like old Northlane, some old Periphery, whatever, stuff like that. Just listen to that, learn a bunch of covers from all their songs, and then from there you kind of like naturally have sort of an idea for the general way that they do things. I mean, obviously not all the intricacies, but like kind of an overview. And then from there, you kind of just write something that's your own, that kind of borrows elements or borrows ideas that you found in the covers that you learned how to play. So I don't know if that's useful or not. Hopefully it is, but that's the way that I've personally pretty much always done it. Alright guys, so that will do it for this video. Once again, this is the first of many Q&A videos to come. If you have any questions that were not answered in this video, please leave them in the comments below and I'll pick a bunch of them for next week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and also make sure to hit that notification button because YouTube does not notify you when you're subscribed to me. Even if you've hit subscribe, you gotta hit that notification button for some reason. Something algorithm, watch time, I don't know, whatever YouTube is doing. Apparently it's working for them, but it's not working so great for creators. So hitting that button would be much appreciated. There's also a bunch of links in the description below for discount codes and to check out some of the products that I use in most of my videos and all that good stuff. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to reading your comments and questions for the next video. Thanks again.